ॐ नमो भगवते वासुदेवाय। नारायणं नमस्कृत्य नरं चैव नरोत्तमं देवीं सरस्वतीं व्यासं ततो जयमुदीरयेत्। नष्टप्रायेष्वभद्रेषु नित्यं भागवतसेवया भगवतीरुत्तमश्लोके भक्तिर्भवती नैष्टिकी। कृष्णाय वासुदेवाय देवकीनन्दनाय च नन्दगोपकुमाराय गोविन्दाय नमो नमः। ॐ अज्ञानतिमिरन्धस्य ज्ञानाञ्जनशलाकया चक्षुरुन्मिलितं येन तस्मै श्रीगुरवे नमः। नमो ॐ विष्णुपादाय कृष्णप्रेष्ठाय भूतले श्रीमते भक्तिवेदान्त स्वामिन्निति नामिने। नमस्ते सारस्वती देवे गौरवाणी प्रचारिणे निर्विशेष शून्यवादी पाश्चात्य देशतारिणे। जय श्री कृष्ण चैतन्य प्रभु नित्यानंद श्री अद्वैत गदाधार श्रीवासादि गौर भक्तवृंद। हरे कृष्णा कृष्णा कृष्ण हरे 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 राम 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 हरे हरे। So last time we completed till the 14th chapter, verse number 28, I think.
Yes, Prabhu.
So we discussed in this chapter when the Brahmanas saw the atrocity. Brahmanas, they appointed Vena as the king after the death of Anga Maharaj, or after the disappearance of Anga Maharaj. Anga Maharaj, without telling anybody, he went to the forest. But Vena, he stopped all the religious activities. And the Brahmanas, they became very angry, but suppressing their anger, they first chose to have a dialogue with Vena, and they reminded Vena about the responsibilities of a king. But Vena, after hearing the instructions of the Brahmanas, Vena behaved in a very arrogant manner. That is what we saw in the last week. Vena accused the Brahmanas that you are acting like a woman who has a paramour. Instead of being faithful to me, the king, you want to worship other devatas and Vishnu. It is like a woman, instead of being faithful to the husband, woman wants to serve some other man. So Vena spoke in a very arrogant manner. Vena said that you are considering me to be an ordinary person. Vena said that I am the root of all the devatas and Vishnu. By worshipping me, all the devatas will be satisfied. Basically, Vena openly said that I am God, I am Bhagavan. We say by watering the root of the tree, all the devatas are satisfied. But he said by serving me, all the devatas, including Vishnu, Brahma, Shiva, everyone will be satisfied. So he called himself as the Bhagavan. So after hearing the Vena's arrogant words, what the Brahmanas do, that's what we are going to see. 1 minute. So Maitreya Rishi speaks. Maitreya Uvacha
Maitreya Uvacha
Itham Viparyayamatihi
Itham Viparaya Itham Viparaya Mati
Papi Yanutpatham Gataha
Papi Yanutpatham Gataha
Anuniyamanas Anunu Anuniyamanastadyachyam
Anuniyamanas Tadyachnam
Nachakre Brashtamangalaha.
Nachakre Brasta Mangalaha. Translation. The great sage Maitreya continued. Thus, the king who became unintelligent due to his sinful life and deviation from the right path became actually bereft of all good fortune. He could not accept the requests of great sages, which the sages put before him with great respect, and therefore he was condemned.
So Itam Viparyaya Matihi. Viparyaya Matihi means he lost his intelligence. Mati means intelligence. Viparyaya means we can say he had exactly opposite intelligence that of he had exactly he had intelligence exactly opposite to that of dharma, or he lost his intelligence. Hmm. And Papiyan, the sinful king, Utpatam Gataha. Patam means path. Utpatam means he strayed from the path. He strayed from the path of dharma. And Brashta Mangalaha. He was bereft of all good fortune. Anuniya Manaha. Tad Yachnyam. Although he was pacified by the sages, although he was advised by the sages, Na Chakre, he did not accept the request. This is a classic example of disrespectful to the right authority. The demons they are disrespectful to the authorities of the Brahmanas, the authorities of the Shastra. Bhagavad Gita 16th chapter, last shloka. Yaha Shastra Vidim Utsrajya Vartate Kamakaratah Nasasiddhim Avapnoti Nasukam na Paramgatim. Very important shloka. Krishna says that one who does not follow the rules given by the Shastra, such a person will neither attain happiness in this life nor attain good destination in the next life. So the sages, they gave the Shastric injunction only. They advised according to the Shastra, but the demons are disrespectful to those Brahmanas. So such people become sinful and they lose all good fortune. So one of the effect of Kali Yuga is that the Kali Yuga makes people lose faith in the authorities. Kali Yuga makes people to Kali Yuga encourages people to act whimsically, to act independently, and disobey the authorities. And Srila Prabhupada went to West 1965. The hippies, they had one of the understanding they had was that do not accept anybody who is above 30. Mhm. Something like that. Do not accept the advice or words of anybody who is above this age. Mhm. So even when we see the Darwin's theory of evolution, according to Darwin's theory of evolution, man came from the monkeys. So what the Darwin's theory is inherently, like indirectly trying to say is that anything old is bad. Previously, we were either monkeys or even lower than monkeys. So now we are in the most advanced. Anything old is bad. So Kali Yuga makes a person uh, encourages the person not to accept the advice of the ancient scriptures or the elderly people or the brahmanas or the devotees. And the effect of Kali Yuga is that it creates a quarrel between the people, and it creates quarrel and dissension in order to break apart from the traditions. To go away from the traditions, it creates quarrel and dissension among the people. And in Kali Yuga, uh, enjoyment is more important than responsibility. Our rights are more important than the responsibilities. The result of all these above tendencies is that people are still dissatisfied and they feel lonely and they are filled with anxiety. And the other things like TV, cinema, drugs, and alcohol, they make a person's brain even more dull. And they make a person cross all the remaining boundaries and they make a person more dull. So, Vena is a classic example of somebody who is disrespectful to the authorities. The Prabhupada is writing that only. They manufacture their own religious principles and disobey great personalities like Vyasa, Narada, and even the Supreme Personality of Godhead Krishna. So as soon as one disobeys the authority, he immediately becomes very sinful and loses his good fortune. So Vena dared disrespect the great saintly personalities, and this brought him ruination. So we also see that the dealings between the Brahmana and the Kshatriya, we had discussed it previously also, but I'll just briefly mention those examples. So in this example, the Kshatriya Vena is acting arrogantly, and the Brahmanas, they very coolly, respectfully gave advice to Vena, but the Kshatriya acted in an arrogant way. Vena. Another example of Parishit Maharaj and Shringi, that the Shringi, the Brahmana acted arrogantly. For a small mistake of Parikshit, who put a dead snake on the neck of Samika Rishi because of the circumstantial hunger and thirst. Samika Rishi, the Shringi, the son of Samika Rishi, he cursed the emperor of the world, Parikshit, to die within 7 days. So there the Brahmana acted arrogantly. The Kshatriya was humble, Parikshit Maharaj. And then the third example, where both the Brahmana and Kshatriya, both of them acted arrogantly, is the example of Devayani and Sarmishta. Devayani and Sarmishta, the ninth canto, Devayani, the daughter of Shukracharya. Sharmishta is the daughter of Vrishaparva, a Kshatriya, who is a disciple of Shukracharya. Once Devayani, along with Sarmishta and other friends, they were taking bath in a pond and they had kept all the clothes on the bank. But by mistake, the clothes got exchanged. Sharmishta put on the clothes of Devayani. But when Devayani came to know, Devayani started chastising Sharmishta. He started speaking in an arrogant manner. He said that how can you Kshatriyas, how can you Kshatriyas you can touch the clothes of a Brahmana's daughter. She started speaking in a very derogatory way of the Kshatriyas. And the Sharmishta, she also started speaking arrogantly. She said that you Brahmanas are like a beggars. You beg from us, the Kshatriyas. You are like a crow. Whatever we actually give away, you take that. Whatever we give, you stand as a beggar in our houses. Like that, Sarmishta also spoke arrogantly, and Devayani also spoke arrogantly. And then the right example, where the Brahmana and the Kshatriya both were humble, both respected each other's contribution. The right example we discussed in the third canto in the dealings between Swayambhuva Manu and Kardama Manu. We discussed previously. You remember third canto, I think 22nd chapter, 22nd, 21st chapter. The interaction between Kardama Muni and Swayambhuva Manu. Kardama Muni, he acknowledged and glorified the contribution of Swayambhuva Manu. Kardama Muni said that because of you performing your duty as a Kshatriya, we are able to perform our Brahminical austerities and sacrifices and the Brahminical duties. And in turn, Swayambhu Manu glorified Kardama Muni. He said that you only give the right guidance and you are giving the right vision for us to rule. Like that, Swayambhu Manu glorified Kardama Muni. And we will also see in the fourth canto later, the next episode of Prithu Maharaj. Prithu Maharaj, how he respected the Brahmanas. That is also another example of the right attitude, the proper, what are the right example of the interaction between the Brahmanas and Kshatriyas. So Prithu Maharaj with the four Kumaras and Sanat and Kardama Muni and Swayambhu Muni. But here is an example where the Kshatriya is arrogant and he did not listen to the advice of the Brahmanas. So now the Brahmanas become angry. So verse number 30 to 35, they describe that the response of the Brahmanas, how they kill King Vena. Iti te satkrutastena
इति ते सत्कृतास्तेन
Bija Pandita Manina
द्विजा पण्डितमानिना
Bhagnayam Bhavyayan Yachnyayam
भग्नायां भव्ययाचनायां
Tasmai Vidura Chukruduhu.
तस्मै विदुर Shukruduhu. Translation. My dear Vidur, all good fortune unto you. The foolish king, who thought himself very learned, thus insulted the great sages, and the sages, being broken-hearted by the king's words, became very angry at him.
So Asatkrita Dvija Pandita Manina. Pandita Manina means who thought himself to be learned. So Asatkrita means being insulted by the king. Yeah, being insulted by the king who thought himself to be learned, Pandita Manina, and who had refused the request. Bhagnayam Bhavya Yachnyayam. Bhavya Yachnyayam means auspicious request. Bhagnaya means broken, or the king refused the request of the Brahmanas. So the Brahmanas became angry. Tasmai Vidura Chukruduhu. So Vidura is a Sambodhana Vibhakti word. Maitreya Rishi is addressing Vidura. So Tasmai Chukruduhu. The Brahmanas exhibited their anger upon Vena. हन्यतामेष
ताम् अन्यतामेष
पाप प्रकृति दारुणः
पापः प्रकृतिदारुणः
जीवन जगाद सावाशु
जीवन् जगाद सावाशु
कुरुते भस्म साध्रुवम्.
कुरुते भस्मसात् ध्रुवम्. Translation. All the great saintly sages immediately cried, "Kill him! Kill him! He is the most dreadful, sinful person. If he lives, he will certainly turn the whole world into ashes in no time."
So Hanyatam. He should be killed. He should be killed. Papa Prakriti Darunaha. Prakriti Darunaha means he is by nature very cruel. So Jivan Jagad Asav Ashu. If he continues living, certainly this Vena, who is a cruel by nature, Prakriti Darunaha, Basmasat Dhruvam Jagat Kurute. He will definitely quickly, Ashu means quickly, Dhruvam means certainly. Certainly and quickly, Jagat Basmasat Kurute. He will burn the whole world into ashes. So therefore, he should be turned to ashes. He should be killed. Hanyatam Esha. So saintly persons are generally very kind to all living entities. Titikshava Karunika Suhruda Sarvadehinam Ajata Shatravashanta Sadhava Sadhubhushana. Third canto, 25th chapter, Kapiladev describes the qualities of the sadhus. But although the saintly persons, they are kind to all living entities, but they are not unhappy when a serpent or a scorpion is killed. So Prahlad Maharaj says in his prayer, 7th canto, 9th chapter, Prahlad Maharaj says that Modeta sadurapi vrishchika sarpahatya. How did that verse start? 7.9.13, 14. Yeah, 7.9.14. Tadyacha manyumasurascha hatastvayadya modeta sadurapi vrishchika sarpahatya. Lokascha nirvritimita pratiyanti sarve rupam narsingha vibhayaya janasmaranti. So Prahlad Maharaj says to Narsingadev, since you have killed my father, Hiranyakashipu, so please give up your anger now. Please give up your anger. And modeta sadhurapi, even the saintly persons become happy when a serpent or a scorpion is killed. So, lokascha nirvritimita pratiyanti sarve. Hereafter, simply by killing this Hiranyakashipu, you have given great happiness to all the people of the world. Hereafter, simply by remembering your form, people will get freedom from fear. So here we see even the saintly persons become happy. Prabhupada is paraphrasing the same shloka, the purport. Because the scorpions or the snakes, they actually bite any person and they give trouble to other people. Therefore, saintly persons, they become happy when a scorpion or a snake is killed, or when a demon is killed. That's why when Mr. Nair, who gave so much of trouble for the devotees, or who gave so much of trouble to Srila Prabhupada in buying that Juhu land, when he died of heart attack, Prabhupada distributed sweets when he heard that. Not because of certain personal vengeance, because Mr. Nair was really a demoniac person. So therefore, all the saintly sages decided to kill King Vena, who was so dreadful and dangerous to all human society. So we can appreciate the extent to which the saintly sages actually controlled the king. If the king or government becomes a demoniac, it is a duty of a saintly person to upset the government and replace it with deserving persons who follow the orders and instructions of saintly persons. So therefore, although the monarchical system was there, but still, when the king would not act properly, the Brahmanas, they had the power to even dethrone the king. In the Mahabharata, in the Anushasana Parva, and Bhishma's instruction to Yudhishthira Maharaj, Bhishma also says that if the king is not performing his responsibilities properly, even the citizens can dethrone the king. Next shloka. Nayamarhatya sadvritto
नायमर्हत्य नायमर्हत्य सद्वृत्तो
naradeva varasanam
नरदेववरासनम्
yodi yajnapatim vishnum
योधियज्ञप्रतिं विष्णुं
vinindatyana patrapaha.
विनिन्दत्यनपत्रपः. Translation. The saintly sages continue, this impious, impudent man does not deserve to sit on the throne at all. He is so shameless that he even dared insult the Supreme Personality of Godhead, Lord Vishnu.
So the sages are saying that Nayam na arhati. Na arhati means he does not deserve to sit on the throne. Why? Because Yaha Adiyagnapatim means the master of the sacrifices. Who is that person? That is Vishnu. Vinindati. This Vena criticized Lord Vishnu, who is the master of the sacrifices, without any shame. Anapatrapaha. Shamelessly he criticized Vishnu, the master of sacrifice. So therefore, na arhati, he does not deserve to sit on the throne. Asadvritta means a sinful person. He does not deserve to sit on the throne. So we see that one of the 64 items of sadhana bhakti is that not hearing the blasphemy of the Supreme Lord. Out of the 64 items, the 11th to 20th item, they talk about what one should avoid. One should avoid the nama aparad. One should avoid the seva aparad. One should avoid hearing the blasphemy of the Supreme Lord. Like that, other items are mentioned. So when a person hears the blasphemy of the Supreme Lord, because how to react? Of course, possible one should give a befitting counter reply and defeat that argument. Or one should kill that person. Or just leave that place by shutting one's ears and leave that place. So here, because the Brahmanas they are going to punish this King Vena. The Prabhupada talks about how one should not tolerate blasphemy and insults against the Lord. So a devotee should be humble and meek. Pranadapi sunichena taroriva sagishuna, on a personal note. But then when the Lord or the devotee is insulted, the devotee becomes fiery with anger. Chaitanya Mahaprabhu became angry when he came to know that Nityananda Prabhu was attacked by Madai. So a devotee should be like a lamb at home, but lion at chase. It's a great fault on the part of the devotee if he remains silent when the Lord or his devotee is blasphemed. So when a person gives a silent submissive oral reception to the blasphemy, then he gives his own spiritual life becomes spoiled. The classic example is Kaikeyi. Kaikeyi, she was also previously happy to hear that Ram is going to be coronated. But the mistake is that Kaikeyi heard, she paid a humble, submissive oral reception to the words of mantra. As a result of that, she became corrupted. So therefore, this point is highlighted. Next shloka. Ko vainam parichakshita
को वैनं परिचक्षित
venamekam shubham
वेनमेकमृते शुभम्
prapta idrishamayshvaryam
प्राप्त ईदृशमैश्वर्यम्
yadanugraha bhajanah.
यदनुग्रह भाजनः. Translation. But for King Vena, who is simply inauspicious, who would blaspheme the Supreme Personality of Godhead, by whose mercy one is awarded all kinds of fortune and opulence.
Ko vainam parichakshita venam ekam ritesh ashubham. Rite means accept. Who accept the ashubham venam, the unfortunate vena. Parichakshita means blaspheme. Yeah. Who accept this unfortunate vena would criticize the Supreme Lord. By whose mercy a person receives yad anugraha bhajanah prapta idrisham aishwaryam. By whose mercy a person receives so much of wealth and power. So essentially, Vena is acting as an ungrateful person. According to Ramayana, ungratefulness is considered to be the greatest sin. So having obtained power from Vishnu is actually criticizing Vishnu himself. There is a beautiful shloka in the first canto, exactly opposite to this shloka, in the Pandavas example. Shloka it is. Yeah. First canto, 14th chapter, 9th shloka. Yasmanna sampado rajyam dara prana kulam prajaha asan sapatna vijayo lokascha yadanugrahat. So Yudhishthira Maharaj is saying, Yudhishthira Maharaj is telling to Bhima, from Krishna, from him only, from Krishna only, all our kingly opulence, good wives, lives, progeny, control over our subjects, victory over our enemies, and future accommodations in higher planets have become possible. And all this is due to his causeless mercy upon us. So Yudhishthira Maharaj is expressing his gratitude towards Krishna. And Prabhupada is writing a detailed purport. He says that the modernized man of Kali Yuga believes in the personal endeavor and he denies the benediction of the Supreme Lord. Even a great sannyasi of India delivered speeches in Chicago protesting the benediction to the Supreme Lord. But as far as Vedic Shastras are concerned, as we find in the pages of Srimad Bhagavatam, the ultimate sanction for all success rests in the hands of the Supreme Lord. Therefore, Yudhishthira Maharaj is admitting this truth in his personal success. So, if a person can achieve success without the sanction of the Supreme Lord, then all the doctors at all times should be successful. No doctor at any time should fail to cure a patient. But oftentimes, despite the most advanced treatment and facilities, still patients die. That means the sanction of the Supreme Lord is required. Therefore, the conclusion is that the God's sanction is the immediate cause for all happenings, good or bad. So, any successful man should feel grateful to the Lord for all he has achieved. So, exactly opposite to that, Vena is exhibiting the quality of ungratefulness. Next shloka. So, when the human society individually or collectively blasphemes authority of the Supreme Lord, it is certainly destined for ruination. So, all kinds of bad fortune will appear because of not appreciating the mercy of the Lord. Ittam vyavasita hantum
Itham vyavasita hantum
rishayo rudhamanyavaha
rishayo rudha manyavaha
nijagnur hunkrutairvenam
nijagnur hunkritar venam
hatamachyuta nindaya.
atamuchyatya nindaya. The great sages, thus manifesting their covert anger, immediately decided to kill the king. King Vena was already as good as dead due to his blasphemy against the Supreme Personality of Godhead. Thus, without using any weapons, the sages killed King Vena simply by high sounding words.
Ittam hantum yavasitam. In this way, desiring to kill Vena. Rishayaha rudamanyavaha. They increased their anger. Hum kritai means they chanted certain mantras. Nijagnuhu, by incantation, they killed Vena. So, in reality, Vena was killed by the criticism of the Supreme Lord. Hatam achyuta nindaya. Vena was destroyed because of blaspheming the Supreme Lord. Was destroyed by the criticism of the Supreme Lord. So, therefore, this is an example of what happens to a person who criticizes the Supreme Lord. Gita also, Krishna says that avajananti mamuda manushim tanumashritam parambhavam ajananto mama bhuta maheshwaram. One who considers me to be an ordinary person is a fool. And the next shloka, Krishna talks about the result of considering Bhagavan to be an ordinary person. Mogasha moga karmano moga jnana vichetasah rakshasim asurim chaiva prakritim mohinim shrita. If a person considers Krishna to be an ordinary person, if a person blasphemes the Supreme Lord, whether he is a fruity worker or a jnani or a yogi, whatever one may be, one will not attain success in his endeavor. And he will actually take birth with a Rakshasa pravritti. He will take birth as an Asura or as a Rakshasa. So without using weapons, they killed Vena. Rishibhi swashramapadam
Rishibhi swashrama padam
gate putra kalevaram
gate putra kalevaram
sunitha palayamasa
sunitha palayamasa
vidya yogena shochati.
vidya yogena sochati. Translation. After all the sages returned to their respective hermitages, the mother of King Vena, Sunitha, became very much aggrieved because of her son's death. She decided to preserve the dead body of her son by the application of certain ingredients and by chanting mantras, mantra yogena.
So Rishibhihi Swa Ashrama Padam Gate. After the sages returned to their ashramas, so Sunita, she was lamenting. Shochati Shunita. And Putra Kalevaram Palayamasa. She preserved the dead body of her son. How? Vidya Yogena. Vidya Yogena means by placing the body in the oil and by also by chanting certain mantras. So we see that although for the whole world, Vena was like a terrorist king, but for Sunita, Vena was like a dear son. This shows actually how love is blind. So Sunita's love towards Vena was blind. Diti also had a blind affection towards her sons Hiranyakashipu and Hiranyaksha. Although Hiranyakashipu and Hiranyaksha were the greatest terrorists, but when Hiranyakashipu and Hiranyaksha were killed by the Lord, she felt that Indra is the person who instigated Vishnu to kill my sons. And she wanted to take revenge against Indra. So that is how, when there is a blind affection, they don't try to see that the mistakes of their sons. And then, so at that time, so after the Vena died, now there is no more king. So then what happened to the kingdom? Ekada munayastetu saraswat salila pluta putvagnin satkatas chakruhu upavishta sarittate. So Ekada, once upon a time, the sages were Saraswat Salila Pluta. They were taking bath in the Saraswati river. Saraswati river, now it has become Lupta, but previously it was there. After taking bath in the Saraswati river, Putvagnim, they offered oblations to the fire. So Satkata Chakruhu, they began to speak about the Supreme Lord by sitting on the river bank. Sarittate Upavishta. So at that time, Vikshyotitam tadotpatan ahur loka bayankaran apyabhadram anathaya dasyubhyo na bhaved bhuvaha. So at that time, because of the absence of the king, the thieves became prominent. Vikshya uttitam tadotpatan. Vikshya means on observing. What did they observe? Uttitan tada utpatan. Utpata means disturbance. They observed the increasing disturbances. Loka Bhayankaran, which was a cause of fear in the society. And then Ahuhu, they discussed among themselves. Abhadram anathaya dasyubhyo na bhaved bhuvaha. Anathaya means without having a king, without having, whether having no ruler would cause the misfortune in the world because of the thieves. Dasyubhyo na bhaved bhuvaha. So they saw the disturbances in the world and then they discussed, oh, because of not having the king, so there are so many problems in the world. So a few weeks back, we discussed in detail from different sections from the Ramayana, Bhagavatam, about the effect of not having a king. When there is no king in the world, or we can also say that when there is a king, but the king is not competent. The king is only namesake. He is not taking proper action. It's as good as not having a king. Then what happens to the society? How the thieves become prominent? What are the problems? So we discussed, there's one full chapter in Ramayana Ayodhya Kanda where Vasishtha Rishi describes the result of having no king. So The Brahmanas observed this. So, yeah, this is an important section. Prabhupada says that. So, whenever there is a disturbance in the state or a panic situation, the property and lives of the citizens become unsafe because the thieves and rogues increase. So, at such a time, it is understood that the ruler is dead. So, all this happened because Vena died. So, although the saintly people, the previous verse described that the saintly people were discussing about Krishna. But at the same time, this shloka describes that they became concerned about the people's welfare. So absorption in Krishna should lead to awareness of others' problems. If the absorption in Krishna is not leading to awareness of others' problems, it is not true absorption. Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, in the last 16 years, he exhibited some of the greatest ecstatic symptoms which the world had never ever seen. The world had never ever seen. But Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, once, like one night, he was like, in his ecstasy, he started scratching the floor with the nails. And then his body started bleeding. So after that day, the devotees decided that hereafter we will keep one devotee along with Chaitanya Mahaprabhu in the night time also for Mahaprabhu's safety. Then they kept one devotee called as Shankar Pandit along with Mahaprabhu. But Shankar Pandit, the night he went to sleep. But Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, he actually took his own chadar and covered the body of Shankar Pandit. Although Mahaprabhu was going through exhibiting ecstatic symptoms, but he was very careful, he was sensitive to the smallest need of a devotee. He offered his own chadar to protect the devotee from the cold. So here the saintly people, they became concerned about the people's welfare. So Prabhupada says that even though saintly persons have no business in the political affairs, but they are always compassionate about the people in general. So even though they are always aloof from the society, out of mercy and compassion, they consider how the citizens can peacefully execute the rituals and follow the rules and regulations of Varnashram Dharma. So that was the concern of the sages. That was the concern of the sages. So in Kali Yuga, a saintly person should take to the chanting of the Hare Krishna mantra as recommended in the Shastras. So at that time, Yevam Rishanta Rishayo Dhavatam Sarvato Disham Pamsu Samuttito Bhurish Choranam Abhilumpatam. We can read translation.
When the great sages were carrying on their discussion in this way, they saw a dust storm arising from all directions. This storm was caused by the running of thieves and rogues who were engaged in plundering the citizens.
Evam Mrishanta means when the sages were reflecting like that. Sarvato Disham Davatam, in all the directions. Pamsuhu Samuttito, a dust storm rose. Buri Choranam Abhilumpatam. There were the great dust from plundering thieves running about arose in all directions. The many thieves plundered the citizens and they were running. Davatam. So because of the running, the dust storm rose in all the directions. The thieves and rogues simply await some political upset in order to take the opportunity to plunder the people in general. So therefore, strong government is required to keep the rogues and thieves inactive. तद् उपद्रवमाज्ञाय लोकस्य वसुलुम्पताम् भर्तर्युपरते तस्मिन् योन्यं च जिगांसताम् चोरप्रायं जनपदं हीनसत्त्वमराजकं लोकान्नावारयञ्चक्था अपि तद्दोषदर्शिनः. Can read.
Upon seeing the dust storm, the saintly persons could understand that there were a great deal of irregularities due to the death of King Vena. Without government, the state was devoid of law and order, and consequently, there was a great uprising of murderous thieves and rogues who were plundering the riches of the people in general. Although the great sages could subdue the disturbance by their powers, just as they could kill the king, they considered it improper on their part to do so. Thus, they did not attempt to stop the disturbance.
The important shloka. Tad upadravam ajnaya. So they understood the disturbance. Lokasya vasulumpatam. Lumpatam. They understood the disturbance of the people, the population by people mutually looting wealth and killing. So anyonyam cha jigam satam. Anyonyam means the people who are looting each other. They understood that the disturbance is because in the absence of a king, the people were looting each other mutually. And they were killing each other. Jigam satam. Bhartari uparate. Because without a king, the whole population had become thieves. Whole population. Chora prayam means almost everyone became thief. Chora prayam. Chora prayam janapada. Hina sattvam arajakam. Hina sattvam. They had lost the sattva guna. That means they had lost, all the whole population lost sense control in the absence of a king. Arajakam, in the absence of a Kshatriya. Devoid of a Kshatriya who can prevent this, the people lost the sense control. Almost the entire population became thieves and they started plundering each other, killing each other. And Lokan Navarayan Shakta Api Taddosha Darshina. Lokan Navarayan Shakta. Lokan na avarayan shakta. Shakta means capable. Although they were capable, although these brahmanas, they had the capability to stop this. But na avarayan, they did not stop those who were looting others when the king had died. So we see previously the brahmanas, they took up the Kshatriya role and they killed King Vena. That was a dire emergency. So during emergency, one person can perform the dharma of others. Apadharma is allowed. But if the apadharma is made as a regular thing, then it becomes adharma. So previously, the brahmanas, they killed King Vena, but now when they saw the common people almost had become thieves, but now they felt that although they had the capacity to kill all these thieves and rogues, but they didn't exercise their power. So Vishnu Chakotipad says that upadravam ajnaya, understanding the disturbance to the population, by lokasya vasulumpatam, by the looters of wealth and the killers, and understanding that almost the whole population had become thieves. Although the brahmanas, they were capable of preventing this. Navarayan Shakta, and even though they saw it happen, even seeing it happen, the Kshatriyas protecting only themselves and being indifferent, thinking, why should we protect others? They did not stop those who were looting others. Although they were capable, but they did not use their power to stop these things. But then, that means, did they not do anything at all? Did they simply remain indifferent? That will also be explained in the next shloka. They did not remain indifferent, but what they will do, we'll see in the next shloka. So they felt that, okay, now we cannot take up the punishing rod to kill these people. But then if we keep quiet also, that is also a problem. That will be explained in the next shloka. So Prabhupada says that the saintly persons, they killed King Vena out of emergency. But they did not choose to take part in the government in order to subdue the uprising of the thieves and rogues, which took place after the death of King Vena. It is not the duty of the Brahmanas and saintly persons to kill, although they may sometimes do so in the case of an emergency. Like suppose, even in a house also, suppose in emergency, a husband may have to cook. But if he is going to cook every day, then it may be a problem because he is not experienced in cooking. So the emergency duties are kept during emergency. So they could kill all the thieves and rogues by the prowess of their mantras, but they thought it is the duty of the Kshatriya kings to do so. Therefore, they reluctantly did not take part in the killing business. So at that same time, we will see in the next shloka in the next week, very important shloka, that they felt that we cannot remain quiet also. If we remain quiet, what will happen? So we cannot exercise our power. At the same time, we cannot remain quiet also. If we remain quiet, all our pious credits will get extinguished. So that we'll see in the detail next week. So next week, we'll complete this chapter. So this section is important because how the Brahmanas, as an emergency, they killed Vena, but then when the citizens were being plundered by the thieves, and all the citizens practically became thieves. But this time they didn't want to again perform the Kshatriya role. Hare Krishna. Ramakund Dhruva has. In the case of Maharaj Dhruva, when he came crying and angry to his mother Suniti, she being properly situated in knowledge, consoled him and advised him about what was right and wrong, and told him not to be revengeful. This is real and proper love. Correct. Unlike the blind love of Sunita. Correct. Thank you. So we have how many shlokas to go in this chapter? We have another 6 shlokas in this chapter. Hopefully we'll finish this chapter and start the next one. Okay. We'll end here. Grantara Srimad Bhagavatam ki